All right, guys, welcome back to the Casual Genius podcast. We got a very special guest today. We got my boy D'Lo in the house, the best
What's up?
freestyler
What's up?
in all of Las Vegas, maybe the entire world. We don't know yet, but welcome, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes,
Appreciate the
sir.
kind words.
Yeah. So you had a album come out the end of 2023 in December. And we just kind of wanted to pick your brain a little bit, kind of see what was going on when you were making this album.
Gotcha.
So, would you be able to kind of walk us through the process of what it was like making this album and what tracks maybe stand out to you as some personal favorites in the recording process?
Yeah. So if I'm gonna be honest, top three would be Mystic, Burning Up, and Drowned. Those three are three completely different sounds, but they all have a message deeply to it. And those stand out to me as an artist because of the effect that it has on the people. A lot of kids listen to Burning Up, a lot of R&B listeners listening to Drowned, and then a lot of Suicide Boy fans listen to Mystic. So it gives me more of a perspective on what stands out to me, but then the process itself is just a day in the life of a normal rapper, a normal person, someone who works the 9 to 5 but then uses the music as either an escape or you know it's for me, it's for me, it's my path. So the process of this album, knowing that it was going to be over 10 songs, being 16 songs, it didn't take that long. It only took a few months, and for every session that I went into, I only went to one guy except for Burning Up. But other than that, all 15 songs were recorded by my guy Nate Got the Juice, and the process was, pretty much the same. We just go in there, we get the beat. I just have really a topic or a feeling, and based on that, he pitches in his ideas, and we just work together. So nothing too complicated, but nothing too simple. It's all from me. It's from the heart. So
That's dope. So ever since I've known you, you've been the dude that freestyles. It's always been a freestyle, never write in, nothing like that. So have
yes.
you changed that at all, or for this album was it once again all off the top, or did you have any kind of writing inside of the album?
I did have, okay, so for a couple of the songs I had like hooks kind of planned out, but it
Mhm.
was hooks that I've like thought about on different beats. It's like stuff that I'm like, this would sound good. Like because I listen to a lot of artists, and the hook is the most very important part. It's the catch.
Right.
And so whenever I think of a hook, I always have to write it down. That's just always something because I feel I'm afraid of not remembering that hook.
Yeah.
But once I have that, everything around that is freestyled for sure, 100%.
Oh,
So with this album, there was only two songs, "Life at Stake" and "One Last Chance" that I wrote. "One Last Chance" was a song that I wrote a while ago and like just didn't finish it. Decided to finish it, and then "Life at Stake" was a very I think like the most complex, like it was the craziest song I've written as a hook.
mhm.
But then that, I don't know if you guys caught the A through Z, but that
Yeah.
verse was all freestyle. That was the only part that was freestyle. So
That's,
because I was going to use lyrics that I previously wrote for it, and then I was like, I have this idea. I've never done A through Z, and I just got done listening to Heroes and Villains that day too. So like Takeoff when he did that, so I was like, you know what, I want to try that. So I
dope.
just had the beat and then just locked in with it, and it helps with my organization. So
Yeah. That's
um,
dope.
that's what turned out for that.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. I love knowing that you just straight up freestyle like a majority of your stuff, or if not all of your stuff. It's one of the coolest things to me.
Well, because you can only get better. So like if I'm already at a certain level where I'm rapping in front of, the school lunchroom and stuff with the
Yeah.
most simple words, it's like I can master the dictionary if I really wanted to. I mean, like that's what people kind of stereotype with like Eminem and other rappers that like, the dictionary rappers because of all these complex words. But once you can like break down a word and then you can put it back together in like the same bar and then rhyme it with the same thing, but like it means something else. It's like, it's only for me to explore those avenues. So that's why freestyling the majority of this album really helped with that for sure.
I'm with you. Yeah, that's dope.
I love that you brought up a couple of sound points from the album, especially with the Suicide Boys sound. That was something that I kind of caught onto and was wondering like if that was an influence in the album or something that like consciously went into it, because it's such a unique sound, especially to the mainstream. Like Suicide Boys is kind of bringing that a little bit into the mainstream to the pop listeners, but like it's such an underappreciated sound when it can be so wild and so crazy. So I love that you brought that up. And another one that I was glad you brought up was Burning Up, because that was my personal favorite track going through the album. I loved kind of the cadence, the flows, how you rode the beat throughout that song. What was the process of that song specifically working on it like? Because I know you mentioned it was a little bit different than the rest of the album.
Well, so that was, if I'm gonna be honest, out of the top three, that's probably rethinking it, it's gonna be my number one. Not my number one favorite song, but the process for sure. So, it was the only other song I didn't record with my guy. He wasn't available, and I was kind of worried how it was gonna sound. But the first person I ever recorded with, when we did Heartless, I
Mhm.
linked back up with that guy,
Okay.
and he has a better studio now, and so I was like, okay, I'm up there. Let me progress and show him, the progress as well. And so when we kicked on that beat, I was with a couple friends, Zach Jaworski, Angel. I was with a few people, and then like a photographer as well. So like the vibes were there. That beat was given to me by a college classmate because I just got my certificate in audio recording technology
Nice.
and to produce music now. And he's a DJ. So when he sent me that beat, I was like, yo, the snake charm vibes, like the flute, like, yo, like that's really different. I want to, what do I get out of this? The fire part came from, because, like, I don't know, the snake charmer and like the kind of like the suspenseful, like, topic, but like how bright the beat was, I had to kind of like mix the two. So fire, is something that's, very dangerous, da 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 da, but like the fire could be the spark for something,
Right.
like, like I see you over there and you're saying you're never going to change, but I see, that's the fire that, you lit up inside me. And like, it could be a good thing because gave me realization, and then it could be a bad thing. But that song right there was 100% like two takes.
Wow.
I went through that second verse, that fast one, with like the 50 and all that. Like some of the bars, like I've never used, but I've always freestyled. So I was like thinking of those at the same time, but also trying to match on topic. Cause like when I freestyle, I kind of drift off. So with
Mhm.
that song, I really felt the hook, like really felt the hook. And so when I like finished everything, I never had this as well, but I was like, hey, at the end, I need you to repeat the hook, but cut everything off. I just want to hear my voice. Like, and so like immediately when I got back in the car, man, like I'm like, I'll admit it. Like I almost cried, bro. Like, cause like hearing myself and like hearing my emotions and like how I really felt, but like knowing that there was a smile on my face the whole time, knowing that like people were around me. So like, even if something were to happen, they wouldn't judge me. Like everything was just kind of like set in stone for that one moment of not being used to my normal routine, with my regular producer. So with that being a freestyle as well, and to be like one of my most popular songs on the album, especially because it's your personal favorite, it's my first song like doing pop as well. Besides Heartless, this is like technically my first like solo pop song. And so like, it mixes a little bit of both, and for sure one of my favorites as well.
Dope. So kind of staying on the track with freestyling, like
Mhm.
you talked about, how you kind of started at school at lunch and everything, just doing
Mhm.
like, just messing around as everyone does. But now you're at a point where, you're releasing songs and they're all freestyles. So what's your secret to freestyling? Like what's going on in your head? Like how do you do that?
So a lot of people kind of ask me how I started it, and how I started it was literally just putting, I guess, putting perspective of what I believe in, what I think, how I feel into something that can be shown. Because I have a troubled past. We all have bumps in the road, and my bump in the road was never being kind of heard. And so with freestyling and first writing on paper, I was really inspired by certain artists and certain people, and I loved listening to rap. So building up from that to today's point, being like 4 or 5 years later, but only doing the music for a year and a half. I touched a mic for the first time in 2021. After all those years I've been freestyling, people are like, why aren't you dropping? Why aren't you doing this? I just always had that fork in the road where everything that I would expect to come my way or to be there for me, it was never there. So for me to be in the position that I am now, I realized that it took myself and I, and it took, a lot of faith and a lot of courage to build up the freestyling because I want to be heard.
Yeah.
I don't curse in anything I do. If you hear like a slight word, or if you heard something in my past projects, like that's supposed to be funny, like, me and Zach made a collab EP, like
Yeah.
my family did not like that. And, it really sucks to like admit that the ones that, you wish you were there all the time aren't going to be there. So
Yeah.
for the freestyling, I know that since I started it and I am where I am today, there's no point in kind of looking back on everything because the only way is up. So if I really want to continue this, I will continue this. If I don't, then I don't. But at the end of the day, it matters, what I believe in. And so since I've, been doing this for so long, there's no reason to quit now
Yeah.
because not only accomplishments, achievements, but how it's built me as a character, how it's built a name for myself, and how one day it could definitely turn eyes and turn ears to, to me,
Yeah.
and it's not all about me. It's not all about this rapper. It's not all about this kind of music because, all kinds of music play a part in each other. Sampling's a big thing. We used a lot of samples in this album. Drowned was A Boogie with a Hoodie drowning.
Yeah.
It's like, it might be as cliche and, you might, take some things and whatever, but as long as everyone's hearing it from my perspective and not, taking it as a stereotype, taking it as a modernization kind of rap, like, just me. It's D-Lo sound, that's just, if I'm going to start that, I might as well just finish that. And the goal is to obviously get it out there to the whole world. So
That's what's up.
That's super cool. I love the way you describe that because I feel like from an analytical perspective, when we're looking into music or wondering about an artist's process, we focus so much on like the technical mental thought process of going into building a song. And especially from a freestyle perspective, that's even more like what people are looking at and like trying to understand, like, how is their mind going, doing this and that and the other and thinking this far ahead. But I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but it almost sounds like you're describing the freestyling process and music making process as speaking more with your heart than with your mind. And
exactly.
I think that's so cool because, like I said, I mean, we're wondering, like, how does your mind do that? But it's like, in a sense, your heart is just telling you what to say. Like, you're not worried about planning out every little thing, but it's just like it's coming from where you're feeling. I think that's super, super cool, man.
Yeah. No. You hit it right on the dot. You hit it right on the dot.
Sweet. I did want to shift just a little bit because I am a production and instrumental nerd when it comes to breaking down
Nice.
music and especially with tracks like Na Na and Life at Stake. Your instrumental choice kind of strays from the confines maybe of what mainstream modern hip hop is. And so what goes into your production choices and how do you go about deciding those things when you're putting a project together?
So it's based on kind of songs I listen to on a daily basis, artists that I listen to. I look up to them and get inspiration, but once again, it comes from me. So the way that kind of like forms is it's really all by ear. And I feel like that kind of touches on by the heart part, like what's gonna touch me, like emotionally. And then, if it does touch me, what am I gonna, what kind of song am I gonna make with that? Is there gonna be a purpose for that song? And with Nana, it he already had that beat. That was a beat that Nate, my boy Nate, has already made. So listening to some of the beat choices he had, Nana was just inspired by A Boogie, pretty much. Like just the whole you say you were there for me, but you're not kind of thing. Like you keep it 100. I'm stuck in the jungle, like A Boogie's old kind of stuff, kind of matching with that Nana kind of thing, but more in the perspective of me, like and because what's the first, literally the first line I said, why'd you have to get up in my life just to complicate it? Like, just, I don't even understand it. I thought that time was patience. And as you kept on rolling on time, I thought that time was wasted. It's like, it's more complex, but you get the message, So that's why I wanted to stand kind of above the modern, because with a beat like that, you'd expect kind of like a Post Malone or like a, type song, maybe like a slow Kid Leroy kind of thing, but with it still being me and still you can hear my voice kind of the same as you would in Life and Steak. The point of it is just, because I wanted this album revolutionary, that the name came from the variety of beats. So I knew at the end of the day, I had to have a different topic for each song, and then, make it make sense on why it's revolutionary. So when it comes to Life at Stake, 24 Hours to Live by Jordan Lucas. He's supposed to drop his album next month. I don't know why he hasn't already. He's supposed to drop it back in August. He was my number one rapper. And, it kind of fell off because of that. But with 24 Hours to Live, that's where I kind of got at the idea of Life at Stake. What would you do if your life was at stake? You had to pick one rapper to the plate, one rapper that would make your life change. It's still talking about me, but I'm making a song, so just, I want people to put in the perspective that, it is from me and everything like that. But, at the end of the day, it's a song. I'm an artist as well as a person. So I love how a lot of people that I know listen to my music because they know me as a person as well. So when it comes to the picking of the instrumentals, I guess you can say the way I kind of explain the songs, like if I were to perform it or if I were to kind of like recite it for you guys or like do anything like that, you'll kind of see the different emotions and where that kind of comes from for each,
Dope. Yeah, man. So when we first kind of started talking before we got the date for this interview and everything, you were letting me know that this is your best project that you've done. And seeing that you've had all these other projects, one, I love that you progressively see yourself getting better and that you're enjoying what you're putting out, like with each drop that you do. Why do you think that this is the one, like why this one's better than all of the other projects that you dropped?
Well, because my numbers are, it might sound a little strange, but my numbers are way lower than my beginning projects. Everything was so anticipated because me as a person dropping his first album ever, bam, skyrocketed immediately. That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
If my fan base is loyal, if my people, say they're like ready for me, they were ready. Second album comes along, quality up there, bars up there, names, cover, everything like that just has progressed. So from that point, I got better. I had my first music video. That was another thing that skyrocketed because everything was kind of a first, but it's not as strong as my first album. Then going on to album 3, once again, it was like 20 songs. I have 20 songs, 5 features or 6 features on that album. Now that album collectively has a lot because it's a lot of songs, but it doesn't have as much as a single as when I previously dropped singles for before.
Right.
Anticipation just wasn't there, but everyone that was really close and stuck along saw the progression. Yeah. So no backing down from there. 4th album, boom. Now I'm in a position where not only am I freestyling every single song instead of writing most of them like I did in the previous albums, I'm getting so much attention on social media, but I'm not getting a lot of streams. That the reason why that makes it the best is because I know that the more that I'm going to progress with, because my next album, I already have a 5th album ready. Like next month, I'm planning on dropping it next month. Awesome. And my first single comes out Wednesday. When people hear this single and the snippet is out on Instagram, when people hear the whole song though, they're like, there's no way that's you. I've already sent it to a few people and people are like going kind of nuts because like you didn't rap in it at all. Like, why didn't you da-da-da-da? It's coming from me, it's going to be better than before because it only takes one to go up there. And as soon as I find find whatever, even if that's making albums with varieties or if I make an album off one sound that everybody likes, but obviously make it a little different within each song, then I've reached my goal, and it's okay to admit the downfalls because at the end of the day, like, I know personally that these are songs that could be played on the radio more than my first album just because of quality, right? It doesn't matter about quantity. So overall, it is the quality, but also with the amount of compliments that I've gotten as well. versus my other albums.
Yeah.
I might have thousands of more streams, but the amount of compliments that I've got on progression, on feeling, on I related to that, everything has just bumped up. That's why it's my best. I didn't go down at all. Just
Cool.
because streams are down does not mean I didn't go down, you know?
Yeah.
And In the Clutch might be forever my best song. But at the end of the day, Burning Up is a way better song. I love listening to Burning Up rather than one I can call a hit for myself, you know?
Yeah. That's a solid mindset. I like
So
that.
That's sweet. I wanted to pick your brain a little bit and ask you, not just specifically with this album, but in general, who are some artists that you draw inspiration from in your music making?
okay, so obviously you already besides saying a boogie for most of it. Um if I'm gonna be honest, Lil Wayne is my personal goat, and watching a lot of interviews like within the last few months, like I've just seen only clips of like him. Like he's been like I don't know if it's just me, but he's been like kind of everywhere recently. Whether it's like performing at the Super Bowl, whether that's like, oh, I didn't remember I said that, or like it's an old clip of him freestyling. Like his process is just the same. He walks in there, it's how he's feeling that day. As soon as that kind of clicked with me, I just I kind of mm, I kind of needed to use that um due to the fact that I was freestyling. So I knew what I was kind of getting myself into. So I'm not a Little Wayne, but I can definitely take his process and put that into the thing, right? Besides him, Jordan Lucas, obviously, with Life at Stake, but then also with the ad libs. I don't know if you noticed my ad libs, but my ad libs are all inspired by him because I love his ad libs. The simple like gra or whatever, man, or just D-Lo in the back, and that's like joiner, So I would say he's definitely has always been a big part. Um, I've been also listening to a lot of um, like Zilla Kami. Do you know who Zilla Kami is?
No.
He's in the Suicide Boys like spectrum.
Okay.
He is so he has the sound of them, but if he like was like a regular rapper or like just like on a boom bap beat or whatever and just had his normal voice, he would have like the vocabulary of like I wouldn't say like Kendrick J. Cole, I would say more of like maybe like a Logic or like because he raps very modern, but the stuff that he says and puts together, it's not bars that go over your head. It's just so organized and well put together. So that kind of gave me that boost to be like, okay, if I put this on for my friends, they're gonna think it's trash. But the reason why I think it's good is because of this, and that. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
so when I kind of listen to him, I get really hyped. So that kind of goes along to the question from before, with like the instrumentals and stuff. I really like very fast paced, like 808 kind of songs. And so he kind of gave me that inspo as well. And then I would say the last and final one, in all honesty, would be SZA. SZA, when it comes to topics and when it comes to love, is my favorite artist. Her and Big Sean. Big Sean would be my favorite male artist, but with that, like with love, but she would definitely be my favorite female one. They definitely just hit like very relatable topics for me, and I run through their music constant. I never skip, depending on the song, of course. But I would say those are definitely a
Nice.
few for this album alone.
This might go along with that, and if it's the same people, that's totally cool. But I also wanted to
Okay.
ask, in today's hip hop world, if you had to pick a top three, four, five, however many you want, who would you say are the best right now?
Oh yeah, that's not going to be the same. I don't care what anyone says. Hot take, but Utopia is still number one for me. I think Travis Scott is just. I don't know that album is just amazing, bro. I take a lot of inspiration from that. And you're gonna see that in the next album. So if we have an interview with that, you'll be like, hey, da 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 da. You were talking about Travis Scott. I heard that in this song. Yeah, man, I told you, kind of thing. I would say another one for me in the top five is Akon. Akon is my favorite throwback artist. He doesn't drop music now, but that does not mean he's not relevant. I don't know. He's always been in my top five, like as a kid, and so I don't think I could ever kind of take his spot. Um, I would say now too. It would suck that if Joyner dropped. If he would have dropped already, but I would still put him up there. regardless, because his ADHD album is still one of my favorite albums as well. That just one keeps me, going through. ADHD and Revenge, only two songs I can really just fully bump, on repeat. Um, a couple more. Definitely A Boogie. I just still have to put in there. He was actually one of the first artists that like I rapped on like tight beats too. So like I rapped on his instrumentals like when I was writing on paper, but then also like I'd rap on the A Boogie tight beats, and those were like kind of my favorites. Piano, something simple at the time. So kind of moving on to now, he just still doesn't miss for me. Especially when it comes to deep topics too, he's always up there. So great relatable artist for sure, definitely. And then if I had to pick a top five for my fifth and final one, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard for that fifth spot because there's so many rappers that could be up there. I'm gonna be honest, 21 Savage. 21 Savage has had a great run, and I don't think he misses on a feature. Neither his last album too. Oh my gosh, his last album was amazing too. Red Drum, Sneaky, and All of Me. I'm running through my playlist all the time too.
Yeah.
So, that'd be my top five.
Sweet.
So for the final question that we got, a good way to kind of wrap everything up.
Yes, sir.
What brought you to music? Like, why be an artist? Why continue putting out music? Like you talked about how, you weren't really heard when you kind of first started. So like, how did you kind of push through that? Like, why have you become like an artist?
If I'm going to be completely honest with you, the one answer that I can really tell you is that, it was honestly the Lord's plan. I am a Christian. I'm not a Christian rapper, but with my beliefs and my faith, that's the one thing that's kept me going. Because if you don't have faith in, whatever belief you have in, as long as you have faith in yourself, that's all that matters. And so if I believe what I believe in and I stick to it and I continue as an artist because I know that that was a path that was set for me, it's I can't imagine a life without it. I honestly can't imagine my life without me and Zach collabing on music. My best friend that was the goofiest guy in high school who no one would ever expect to be on a track, but we did it. And I don't know if you saw, but one of our songs hit 12 million on Facebook.
Wow, congrats on
just
that.
Out of nowhere. I looked on DistroKid and it just said I made money, and I said why, how, and it said 12 million, and I had to rub my eyes a few times, and I just said Facebook, not Spotify, but it's Facebook. I don't even have Facebook, but and making him happy as well, because that's pushed one of my best friends up there, with meeting Nate, the guy that's been behind everything, all my videos, all my production, everything. He's also been a best friend to me. I can't imagine my life without a person like him. I can't imagine not being able to meet you. I can't imagine your encouragement over the first few years of me starting, because we were in that same bubble of just experimenting and trying music. And as soon as we just figured out that it was something, because everyone kind of knows us as well as J-Mac or D-Lo, it's just, there's just no reason to stop. There's just no reason to stop. If you don't, whatever you have faith in is, like I said, as long as you have faith in yourself, and that's just the one thing that I've kept. And then another thing too is give and I shall receive. I'm going to give the people what they want to hear, what I want them to hear as well. I don't want them to hear any cursing. I want them to be able to share this to their parents, their grandparents, and be like, hey, I know this guy. Like, I figured you would like a song like this. They sampled maybe the 60s thing. Can you hear it in the back? Oh, this actually sounds kind of pretty cool. He's not on the radio. Like, it's just a lot of different things can jump, and it's just a chain reaction. But until I reach the end goal of getting it out there to everybody and being known, by most of the world, it's just, for now, it's just keeping my faith and just keeping locked into what I have to do. Because it's not all about music. It's not just music. As an artist, I can't really, I put a lot of my personality into artistry, because egotistical artists are out there. A lot of money, people who are greedy, and there's like, like I said before, we're all not perfect. We all haven't had, things perfect, but for what we have and for what we can look back on, I can tell you that 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, last seeing you, I would not be able to. I cannot tell you that I'd be here today, where
Yeah.
I am making music and doing everything. So, regardless of all that, I'm just gonna stay true to it because of what it's brought to me.
That's,
So,
that's a phenomenal answer.
thank you,
Yeah.
Super cool, man. Super cool.
thank
Well,
you.
congratulations on Revolutionary. And we are stoked to hear this new project that's coming out soon. Do you have any questions for us or any last things you want to hit on before we wrap up?
Couple things. One, are you guys releasing a review at all? Anything that we can watch, or my people can watch,
Yeah. So
or is it just going to be the interview?
So the we don't have an actual reaction or anything to the album. We just kind of listen to that like by ourselves, write our notes down like that. But the thing that will be posted is this episode, the interview, and that's on like we do full episodes on YouTube, and then it's on Spotify, Apple, and wherever else podcasts can be listened to.
Dope. I just want to make sure that something is out there, so give you guys the proper recognition and that we both deserve. And then the last thing I would say is, are you guys ready for Wednesday?
I'm stoked now.
Yeah, no, I'm actually stoked.
I hope you are, because the sample, the voice, the everything that I put into this song, this is for sure my deepest song. And so, and if you ever want to talk about how I made that, I'd be more than welcome to not drop names, but drop situations and be honest about my feelings, and hopefully someone can take something from it, and hopefully any artist and anybody just as people can take anything from this interview. I hope that you can take it and apply it to people, and I hope you guys can apply anything that I've said as well. I'm definitely going to apply the stuff you guys said, because now knowing some feedback and you guys actually analyzing every single bit of it, it helps me realize that, there are people who care about my music. So I'm going to definitely care back, give and I shall receive. And we'll just keep this cycle going, and we'll just keep putting it out there,
Absolutely.
Well, man, this has been phenomenal. Glad that we were able to have this interview and talk about Revolutionary. We'll give you feedback on Wednesday when your song drops. Stoked to hear it, man. On that note, you got anything else?
For the listeners out there, make sure to check out D-Lo wherever you stream your music from. Revolutionary's out now, new song out Wednesday. Super stoked to get to meet you today, brother, and keep up the good work. We're stoked for you.
Likewise. And I once again appreciate it. This is the second time I've ever been on a podcast, so it's very exciting. I wish you guys the best of luck as well. And I can't wait for the interview to drop and for everyone to see it. So,
yeah.
All right. Well,
thank you very much.
We'll catch you later, my boy.
Catch you. You guys have a good one.